Let me just ask you a question. Are you suggesting that the elected president of the United States should run American foreign policy and national security based on the daily podcast rantings of Alex Jones?
He already runs it based on Fox News.
That's crazy.
Tara Palmieri and Tara Setmayer went head-to-head with smug far-right MAGA sycophant Scott Jennings on Abby Phillips' show in a very heated exchange this time over the ongoing MAGA civil war with figures like Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, and Megyn Kelly Turning against Donald Trump. We're going to take a look at clips from this panel debate with Tara Palmieri, Tara Setmayer, Scott Jennings, and the rest. I have my thoughts to share as well. Let's check it out together.
Is President Trump too far gone for some of MAGA's biggest voices? Well, cracks in the base have been forming for months now, but the war with Iran appears to be the tipping point for many of them.
It is vile on every level. It begins with a promise to use the U.S. military, our military, to destroy civilian infrastructure in another country, which is to say to commit a war crime, a moral crime against the people of the country, whose welfare, by the way, was one of the reasons we supposedly went into this war in the first place. There will be nothing like it. Open the effing straight. How dare you speak that way on Easter morning to the country? Who do you think you are?
In response, Trump called Carlson a low IQ person, and Trump claimed that Carlson calls him all the time, but Trump refuses to answer, adding, quote, I like dealing with smart people, not fools. But Carlson is not the only one who's souring on this war. Matt Walsh says that Trump's second term has spent too much time on foreign adventures and that it's time to turn the attention back home. Marjorie Taylor Greene called Trump's post evil and madness and said that it was time to invoke the 25th Amendment. Alex Jones apparently agrees.
How do we 25th Amendment is asked?
The problem is to get the 25th Amendment. It's harder than impeachment. You have to get 2/3 of the House and 2/3 of the Senate.
So what do we do?
Tackle Trump and pretend, let him pretend he's president and publicly report that he's going through a health issue and Vance take over.
And if I was the Democrats, I'd stop poking Trump and messing with him. That only makes it worse. Like, you guys need to watch out. This isn't a guy acting like he's crazy. This is real.
Now, by no means am I suggesting that any of these people are authorities on much, but these are Trump's people. These are the people that Trump used to get elected the first time and the second time. And so the turnaround here is really stark, Scott.
Well, look, they're isolationists, and he's not. He never has been. There's been a lot of people in that wing of our politics that wanted to ascribe or attach their views to him. He just never has been. He wasn't in his first term. He hasn't been in his second term. He's been a hawk on Iran his entire adult life. And I see some of these people now saying, gee whiz, we had no idea Donald Trump hated Iran and thought they shouldn't have a nuclear weapon. I mean, take the car key out of your ear. For goodness sakes, like this has literally been his position since he was like 30 years old when the regime took over. So I don't know what they've been listening to until now, other than this. They wanted always to try to get him to bend to their will. And what they don't understand about Trump is that people bend to his. He's the head of the party and he runs the country, not the podcaster.
Except that he literally ran on the line, I will end all foreign wars, and mocked Jeb Bush, by the way, for being related to George W. Bush and supporting the war.
I'm glad that you're saying it.
Did he not
Sorry,
also
I just
run preventing Iran from getting
for a
nuclear
change.
weapons? Did
I
he
mean,
not
I don't
say
know.
it time and again?
I don't know how many times we need to pull the receipts of Trump arguing that Democrats would take us into war with Iran, Trump arguing that we've spent too much time on regime change in the Middle East. They're not saying this because they made it up out of thin air. They're saying it because Trump ran on it.
Yes. And
no, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that, like, what should worry Scott is that the lines that President Trump uses, his base are now using against him, which shows that there is uncertainty right now in the core of his base. The people who actually feed on the media diet of Tucker Carlson and maybe some Alex Jones, like, these are the people and
let me just ask you a question. Are you suggesting that the elected president of the United States should run American foreign policy and national security based on the daily podcast rantings of Alex Jones?
He already runs it based on Fox News.
That's crazy.
Everything he reads.
He has to run it based on the circumstances. The circumstances are, I'm not going to let these fanatics get a nuclear weapon.
Why not actually listen to the American people? Only one in four Americans actually supports this war. 1 in 4 Republicans actually supports this war.
That's false. Republicans
So
support the president.
just to note,
Republicans support the
despite what
president.
Trump
They
said
support the president.
in that New York Post interview.
I love Tara Palmieri pointing out that Donald Trump, to Scott Jennings, that Donald Trump is running the country based on Fox News. He has a D-list former Fox News host running the freaking Pentagon in Pete Hegseth. And Scott Jennings is going to deny that. You know, what's such nonsense about all of this is a year ago Scott Jennings was saying how great Tucker Carlson was. They were all saying how great Marjorie Taylor Greene was because she was the #1 fundraiser for the Republicans. But there can be no criticism at all of the dear leader in Scott Jennings' mind because he is there to suck up to Trump, and that's it. But mark my words, in 3 years when Trump is out of there and his approval rating is even lower than it is now, and he's further destroyed the country, Scott Jennings is going to be saying, Trump, I never supported Trump. Who I mean, he's going to be on to J.D. Vance or Tucker Carlson. If Tucker Carlson runs and is going to get the nomination, then Scott Jennings is going to flip-flop. Oh, I always thought Tucker was great. I never criticized Tucker Carlson. This guy, Scott Jennings, is nothing but a propagandist. And I love the MAGA Civil War. I don't know, how many people out there that are into it as much as what I am. Let me know in the comments if you are. But Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Candace Owens, Alex Jones, Megyn Kelly, all of these people turning on Trump is delicious. Now, they're just grifters like Scott Jennings, but they can see what's happening, and they're getting off of this ship while the getting is good because they know they're not going to make any money if they continue to ride on the Trump train because it is derailing quickly. And to mix metaphors, it's a sinking ship. And all of them that can see that, Donald Trump can talk about Tucker Carlson being low IQ. Well, he's got enough of an IQ to get off of a sinking ship. Scott Jennings is going to ride it down. He's going to be like Leo in the Titanic, where he's going to sink on the piece of wood that says MAGA on it, right? And I also love Abby Phillip doing everything that she can to keep from laughing when she plays the clip of all the MAGA people turning on Trump. Like I said, it's just delicious. And I love seeing Scott Jennings melting down. All right, we're going to get into Tara Setmayer here, and she has some digs to get in on Scott Jennings as well. View.
Review about Tucker Carlson. According to the New York Times, he did speak with Carlson just a couple of weeks ago before this war began and tried to convince Carlson that it would be okay, he says, because it always is.
And quick thing, don't forget, Tucker Carlson was at the Republican National Convention and spoke.
So they're still communicating. He hasn't disowned these folks. He's still trying to convince them to come over to his side on this war.
Look, again, Donald Trump has prosecuted this war by way of Truth Social posts. Okay, so to sit here and say that he doesn't take the word of the podcast bros or anything like that is asinine because we all know that he doesn't read. He doesn't read his presidential daily briefings. He calls in people and rules by committee and asks, random folks when he's dining in Mar-a-Lago what he should do on foreign policy. I mean, this is not exactly an example of someone who is stable, who is focused, who actually has strategy. So, and it's clear by what we're seeing. And the American people, including his MAGA base, is looking at this going, this is not what we voted for. They feel betrayed by him. MAGA has been betrayed by Donald Trump, and they're waking up and seeing that.
So
talks about
Tara, tell us a little bit quickly about your piece.
So
You talked to family members who are Trump supporters.
Right. So over Christmas, my family, they are core MAGA supporters. They are not swing voters. They believe Trump. It is part of their identity, okay? When I saw them over Easter, 4 months later, all they could talk about was how they were betrayed. They were betrayed. They did not want to go into a war where there was no endgame. They were fearful that there would be a draft, that their children would be drafted one day. They saw Afghanistan, or they looked back at Iraq. They thought, this is not what we signed up for. It's more expensive, inflation. None of the things that they thought that President Trump was going to do were actually happening. And there was uncertainty. Things don't add up. That is what they kept saying. And they started asking me questions. And believe me, I'm a black sheep in the family. Okay?
Congressman, if you had 40 seconds.
No, I was just going to say one thing that the craziest pointed out that I think is right is domestic stuff. And there's been a lot less focus on people are struggling with high costs. They're getting crushed right now. The tariffs, now the gas prices, rent, energy prices, and that is not part of the conversation, and that's got to be part of the conversation. I think that's been lost. I think it's one of the things pissing everyone off on his base.
Well, it's overshadowed, too.
Well, also because the numbers show it. We have a record number of veteran foreclosures because Trump has cut what's gone on at the VA. We have record numbers of bankruptcies for farmers because Trump has betrayed them. We have less jobs created under Donald Trump than we did under Joe Biden, that he's betrayed our blue-collar workers. So it's reflected in the polls, Scott, and I don't think you're telling the American people they're stupid for what they're feeling, are you?
We got to leave it there, everyone. Thank you very much for being here tonight. And next for us.
It's unfortunate that they didn't let Scott Jennings respond to Tara Setmayer, because the cope would have been hilarious to watch. The mental gymnastics, the logic pretzels, Scott Jennings does all of that. I love Tara Setmayer saying here that Donald Trump doesn't read and can't read. That just pisses Scott Jennings off to no end. Oh my God, to say that the dear leader can't read, doesn't read when we all know that's the truth. How many reports that have we seen of that? So this one was a quick one. I just wanted you to see I loved seeing Tara Palmieri. I don't think I've ever done a video with her on my channel, but really going after Scott Jennings there and just seeing Scott Jennings twist himself in a knots to lick Trump's boots like he does every night that he's on Abby Phillips' show. It's going to be interesting to see what impact this MAGA civil war has. I do think Scott Jennings is right that the Republicans, they're still with Trump. I mean, anybody who calls themselves a Republican at this point is MAGA. There's no difference between the two, and they're almost all in on Donald Trump. But he's taken somewhat of a hit. And as things continue to get worse and worse and worse, the economy continues to go down. As Tara Setmayer, or I think it was Tara Setmayer, was the one talking about the veteran foreclosures. Donald Trump doesn't give about veterans. We know that. It's been incredible to see the way he has talked horribly about veterans over the years about being suckers and all of that, but still they love him. But is there enough of that loyalty being taken away that it will really make a big difference in the midterms? We'll see. They are handing it to the Democrats on a silver platter if only the Democrats will take that. This should be an easy election in the midterms for Democrats. I'm keeping my fingers crossed, even though I have no great love for the Democrats. But I can't imagine anybody with any sense voting for a Republican at this point in time. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this. Do you agree with what Tara Palmieri and Tara Setmayer had to say in going after Scott Jennings and Donald Trump over the MAGA civil war? Or are you on the side of Scott Jennings? I know there are people out there that love him. I can't imagine. The guy is just such a weasel, but I know they're out there. Let me know what you think about this clip from Abby Phillips' show. I am Chris on Culture, and I'll see you in the next video.